The Final Fantasy VII Remake, guys, I can barely contain my hype. I did not think showing 3 trailers of this game that we have seen so far would get me this excited for this remake. But Square Enix has somehow managed to, and I am having a hard time containing my hype for this game. It looks absolutely unreal. It feels unreal to see this game that I grew up playing over 18 years ago somehow just come along and blow me away. This game it looks absolutely phenomenal. The graphics are so amazing. The scenery just pays so much homage to the original game. You can see the sign for the Loveless play there. They have really gone in, shot for shot, piece for piece, remade this game from the ground up, and it just looks absolutely stunning to see in HD. There is no doubt in my mind that this game is going to be pure eye candy. So I don't even really know where to start, because we got a lot of information just thrown at us within about 20 minutes. But let's start talking about the biggest thing that people were most concerned with, and this was the combat. The combat is a point of a lot of contention for people, because so many people want to see the combat go back to being turn-based, since it was originally turn-based before, but we knew Square Enix wasn't going to do turn-based due to turn-based combat not being as popular as it once was. They're wanting to reach out to a wider audience and bring in a crowd who has never touched this game before. And I feel like from what I saw, Square Enix has really found a formula that is going to work. The best way that I can describe this really is Kingdom Hearts meets Final Fantasy XIII. And I know people are going to automatically hear Final Fantasy XIII and say you're stupid, but it really is. And you have your normal attacks, so it shows right off the bat Cloud attacking the normal enemies. And they explain that you can do damage to the enemies this way, but it's not going to be a whole lot of damage. You're going to want to use special moves. This is where moves such as Braver will come in and things like that. You're able to use these special moves. Through the ATB bar, this uses up a section of that. And that's kind of why I say it's like Final Fantasy XIII in a way, because the special moves do use up a slot on your ATB bar, but then it fills back up. And I'll get into the comparisons to Final Fantasy XIII again here in a little bit. But the trailer we're checking out right now, you do see that time has stopped. This is what they call tactical mode. And in tactical mode, you're able to kind of execute the certain attacks that you want to. Really, this feels a lot like the VAT system from Fallout, where you're able to kind of plan out the way you want to play out your attacks. I think it's really cool, because this does give the people who do like to take that more strategic time to plan out their moves via turn-based RPG, you know, with the active time battle and the wait battle that other Final Fantasies had, and kind of really blends them together. Another really awesome thing that they've done is you are able to, by the press of a button, one button, swap out to another party member. And this is cool too. So that character continues to fight, kind of much like they did in Final Fantasy XIII. They act for themselves while you're controlling the other character. But say there's a specific move from Barret that you want to use, or maybe you want to have Barret use a cure magic on Cloud, you can do that. You can have him go in and select his different skills. Much like Final Fantasy XII, where you can go in, pull up the menu, and stop time, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from here. So if you want to use Big Shot from Barret, you can swap to Barret, stop time, and use Big Shot on the enemy. It's absolutely crazy the amount of detail that they just went in explaining the combat system. Like, they did it so well. On top of that, people who want a more streamlined, action-y type feeling, they are having things put onto shortcuts, much like they did with the Kingdom Hearts franchise. The battle looked fast, it looked fluid, it looked very actionized. This is as close as Square Enix is going to get to their original vision, I feel, by having combat that feels like it is something you'd see out of the Advent Children movie. It blew me away. Now, something else that I realized within the battle system is they were showing them fighting the Scorpion boss in the first reactor, him and Barrett. One of the first things that I realized is there were actually parts where you had to think by taking cover and waiting for the enemy to shoot his laser tail towards Cloud or Barrett, and then that allowed the other one to go in to try and take him down for the kill. It was very strategized in its approach, and I commend it for that. It really looks like the Final Fantasy combat is trying to evolve and make it something that we haven't seen before. Honestly, if every Final Fantasy game used this combat, just from the way I'm seeing it and the way it plays out, I could see this becoming a streamlined version of the Final Fantasy combat system, and I would be completely okay with this. Square Enix really needs to pay attention to what they're doing here, because I think they have found a formula that works. I haven't gotten my hands on the game in of itself, but just from how the presentation of the combat looked and how they structurally kind of broke it down throughout this boss fight really got me excited to get in and play this game's combat. Another thing that I completely realized right off the bat, they did say, like they did in the original, that lightning damage is going to do an extensive amount of damage, and we saw that. It hit its weak point. This eventually caused the enemy to go into stagger mode, much like Final Fantasy XIII did, where they were able to start dealing additional damage to the enemy. And eventually they were able to take out the enemy. We saw Cross Slash, we saw Barrett break its self-regeneration by firing Big Shot out of his gun arm. One of the most amazing things that I saw in the combat, though, was you could literally see on the weapons of the characters, you could see on Barrett's arm, on Cloud's sword, materia shoved into the slots on the weapons. The amount of detail that they were able to go in and provide was something just absolutely amazing. The combat looks fluid, it looks smooth, and it looks like the best answer to the best of both worlds. Those who enjoyed the traditional turn-based strategic combat that turn-based games from the past had offered, and those who want a more streamlined, action-oriented battle system. I feel like it's going to give the best of both worlds. Now, obviously, I know what I'm going to go with. It is going to be the tactical mode that they so talked about. I think this is how I'm going to play a majority of the game. That about covers it for the battle system. There was a lot to dissect there. So let's get in and talk about it, because we saw two characters that deserve to be shown off. And this is Tifa and Marlene. Marlene, cute as hell. She always has been. She's always been so fun to see. And we got to see her 2 years prior in Advent Children, kind of more matured up a little bit. I'm glad to see Marlene in here, and they really focused in on that. Something else that blew me away with the game was Tifa's combat. It looked so freaking cool to see her just beating the shit out of these enemies with her fists. We saw more of the sewer scene. We saw more of Midgar, and oh my gosh, it's just so cool to see. Now, we also got to see some of the additional bosses in the game. There seems to be added scenes to the game as well. We actually got to see a part where Cloud was riding on the motorbike with Jessie, fending off people on the motorcycle. Like, they are adding stuff to the Midgard section. And this brings me up to something that I want to just talk about right here, right now. This game alone is only going to encompass Midgard. Literally, that is what they said right off the bat. This is going to be 2 Blu-ray discs, this entire game. Midgard is going to be one game, and then the rest of the game is going to be in the other game. So I'm like, how's this going to work? Because that is still a massive game that they need to work on for the rest of the remake. I mean, I guess they could go to this open world approach like Final Fantasy 15 did and make it really, really vast, this huge explorable region where you go through caves to get you to different areas and it loads one massive area all at once. Or it could go into something maybe more streamlined like Final Fantasy XII, where you kind of progress through it. I'm trying to wrap my mind around how they're going to do this, and for the life of me, I cannot figure it out. I'm really looking forward now to seeing how they're going to handle the second part of this game. But the fact that Midgard was alone, I'm like, why would they do that? There's so many other places to try and end it alone. Then I got thinking, Midgard was a very interesting place because it really set the premise of what the story was going for. And I guess in the other Final Fantasy VII Remake, I always thought it was kind of weird how you felt bad that Biggs, Jesse, and Wedge had all died, but I wasn't expecting to see so much of the game focus on them. And that's really what it seems to be doing. Final Fantasy VII ending with Midgard is actually a really smart idea, because think about it through an episode. Midgard almost felt like its own game. There was this plot that was brought up. You had Avalanche, a group of terrorists who were trying to take down Shinra. That was their main goal, was to save the planet from this evil corporation sucking the life out of it for energy. And it was structured in a way to be an entire problem in of itself. And then Deus Ex Machina just kind of happened, took down a majority of the people, killed the president of Shinra, and kind of moved on. Like, it was really one of those points where their whole idea of what they had been setting up for years backfired on them, and boom, out came Genova and wreaked havoc all across the Shinra building, killing the president. It was absolutely nuts. Now, that kind of ended the current threat that they had, and all of a sudden they had this new threat to take on. This new creature, this new person, Sephiroth. Who the hell is Sephiroth? Well, let's take the rest of the game to try to find out who he is. And that's where the game began. Midgard's a great place to end it because it's going from one problem to the next. We saved the world from one threat, let's go save it from another. The next thing I want to talk about is Cloud's voice actor. It's not Steve Burton. Steve Burton has been the voice actor of Cloud since Advent Children. Actually, I take that back. He's been the voice actor of Cloud since Kingdom Hearts. And I've always thought he's done a good job, but this new voice actor really seems to capture the feel of Cloud. Burton's Cloud was very depressed, always down in the dumps, always moping around. And that is Cloud's character, but Cloud's character in battle was also, drawn to him being a soldier. Do this, do that, do this, do that. You can feel the authority and power in his voice as he's telling Barrett, hide behind that debris. All right, go in and take the shot. He was really taking control of the situation, and the voice actor's character was able to do that. Barrett's voice actor, how I would always picture Barrett. Gruff, assertive, cocky, big shot, but sweet and humble when he needs to be. Much like he is with his daughter Marlene. That was just the best scene ever. Tifa's voice actor, again, excellent way. Aerith's voice actor was really good too. And then we have some of the added scenes that we're seeing. The black aura that encompasses Cloud and Aerith when Aerith goes to grab Cloud's hand. We have, of course, a scene with Cloud and Sephiroth that I thought when I saw it, oh, this is the flashback from Nibelheim. But I don't think it is. I think it's literally the plate. And I now kind of understand the scene more. It is Cloud having a flashback of Sephiroth. Sephiroth is kind of in his mind. I think it is alluding to the fact that Sephiroth in some way, shape, or form is going to appear. That Jenova is active. And we got to see a little bit of inside the Shinra building, which looked absolutely incredible, by the way. I can't wait to see more of that, and they only said they're going to show us more leading up through the months of what we can expect. But I wanted to talk about, that alone with Jenova is something that I am waiting for them to reveal, because Jenova is one creepy looking creature. Like, she was nightmare fuel for me when I was 11 years old. She terrified me way more than what she should have. I mean, I do remember being in the bedroom as a kid with a blanket thrown over my head, creeped the hell out by just what I saw in the machine in the Nibelheim flashback, or that matter, the Shinra Mansion, or in the Shinra Mansion too, but also in the Shinra building. So I can't seriously at this point contain my excitement anymore. This game just flat out looked incredible. The combat looked like it really improved the game, and honestly, I can't wait to see what else they are going to do with this. I think very well that this could be the defining moment that Square Enix needs. And I don't want to get my hype up because Square Enix has disappointed me so much each time I have tried. Final Fantasy 15 was not what I expected it to be. Final Fantasy VII Remake got delayed for so long. Kingdom Hearts 3 was not what I thought it was going to be. But yet here we are. I don't think any of us were expecting this game to get announced for a release date on March 3rd of 2020. And yet, here Square Enix just abolished our expectations. Now, this is Square Enix. I am going to take that release date with a grain of salt because they have been prone to pushing back a game. And at this point, I am going to say something that might be very unpopular with people. But if that release date gets pushed back to make sure that quality issues are taken care of and we get a game that is released by just what they have shown us with what they've had, I am okay with that. If we end up waiting another 4 years for the next part, I don't think we will, but if we do, I am okay with that, because I want them to get this right. And if it's any indicator by what they have shown us with this trailer alone, with this gameplay that we saw at E3, and with the amount of detail that they're paying to the original and expanding on that whole scene in Midgar and what's going to encompass it, I can only imagine what more treats Square Enix is going to have in it for us. How are they going to handle Vincent and Yuffie? How are they going to handle so much of the rest of this game? I am still wrapping my mind around this, but I do hope that we get to see more of the characters. I do hope that they use this as a way to also expand on the story more. I am so happy with what I have seen. I am so blown away by what I have seen. I went in with such low expectations on this game. I didn't think I was going to walk away this excited and this hyped for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yet here I am, in front of my webcam, in front of my audience here on YouTube, after stating I feel like I'm going to, in a few years, get in front of the camera and be like, yeah, Final Fantasy VII was a shitty remake. Moving on. Thanks a lot, Square Enix, for screwing up my childhood. And yet here I am talking about this game like it very well could top the original. And I never once in a million years thought that that was possible. I am going to try to contain my excitement, but I am really excited to see what Square Enix is able to do. Just damn, it looks beautiful. And guys, day one, we're buying this game. I'm going to try and get off time from work to play it, and let's have some fun. I will be here day one each time we get new announcements as soon as I can with my work schedule, giving you guys updates. So hit subscribe there to make sure that we're getting those, and most importantly, guys, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoons is checking out.